What's up, everybody? Welcome back to KyTalk Live. Tonight we have a very special guest, a very talented actor, a great professional. I can't even talk right now, and sincerely nice guy, actor Vincent Ward. Welcome to the show, Vincent.
Man, appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Well, I got to get right into it. First off, I'm very curious, what got you into acting to begin with?
Getting fired. Got fired from General Motors. Had to do something. I started working at Champ Sports. Became the number one salesman in the district. They said they wanted to train me as a assistant manager, but I had to move to Columbus because I'm originally from Dayton, which is like
50 miles.
away. Went there, became the number one salesman in the district in Columbus. And one day the general manager wanted to meet with me. And he pretty much asked me, well, how far do you want to take it in the company? And I said, I would like to have a position like yours one day. And maybe 2 weeks later, the dude fired me. And my I was about to say producer, huh? I ain't got to work for my boss, my manager, my supervisor. He was like, Vince, he said, whatever you said to the general manager, that's why I have to let you go. And if you repeat it, then I just deny it.
Unbelievable.
And a couple weeks after that, I went and saw my very first play at a small theater called Living the Dream Theater in Columbus. And I fell in love with acting that day.
Now, have you done stage work as well?
Well, that was my first time.
Really?
My acting career started on stage.
What play?
And I tell anybody, you can do theater, you can do anything because there's no cut in theater. As soon as you hit that stage, you got to be ready. So I fell in love with acting that day, and I've been doing a lot of theater ever since 1998, 99.
What would you say your favorite show is to date?
It's two. One called My Brother's Keeper.
Mm-hmm.
The director was Don B. Welch. My man Ernest L. Thomas, Rod from What's Happening.
Yeah.
He's my right-hand man. We have Vanessa Bell Armstrong. We had some heavy hitters in there. But my second best or favorite has to be the one that I did recently with Snoop Dogg, called Redemption of a Dog, with Snoop, Omar Gooding, Eric Benet, Tamar Braxton, Demetri McKinney, Lil JJ, and we actually toured with that play. So
that's incredible. You've got to have a ton of stories from that.
Man, let me tell you something. Snoop, I would say Snoop is the ultimate professional. And that guy, he looked out for us big time.
Wow.
And I have nothing but love and respect for Snoop.
That's incredible. No, I love Snoop Dogg. I mean, ever since he got his start in music, I mean, I've always there's been an appeal there. But even hearing stories about him to this day, what you said, I've heard it from other people as well. He's an amazing guy.
100%. 100%.
Now, you also, I was saying that you're a nice guy, but you're also a large guy in stature. Moi? But you're a very large guy in stature, and I see the posters in the background. It got me to thinking about this. You get a lot of tough guy roles, and I know that's part of it. But in real life, what are you like in real life? Are you a tough guy? You kind of balance it out a little bit with?
I wouldn't even say balance it out. I would say most of the people that play the tough guy roles, that's my size, they're pretty much the nicest guys that you would want to meet. You know, because for the simple fact, we don't have to play tough for people to think we're tough.
Exactly.
Until you have a conversation with us. You know, it's always, especially when you bald and you black. I think that's what intimidates some of the police officers too. When you're over 6'2", because I'm 6'4", 260, people automatically become a little intimidated by you because of your size. Not because you said anything, or not because you look mean or anything like that. It's just your size.
Yeah.
And nowadays, your color.
That's unfortunate, but yeah, I understand. It's just unfortunate. But it's sad still.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of the roles you've played. Again, we've seen bodyguards, prisoners. I mean, you name it. You've gotten into that tough guy and bodyguard. One specific role, you got to meet Betty White. What was that like? Come on.
Hey, let me tell you something. I was a fanboy that day.
Oh man, me too.
Baby White, she's a legend. She's legendary.
Yes.
Man. And for her to be at that age and still be able to memorize her lines and be on cue and still be funny, it's amazing. Because there's a lot of young people out here. There's a lot of young people out here that can't remember their lines, but for somebody at that age to be able to do something like that is unbelievable.
Yeah, well, she's definitely a hard worker, as are you. And like you said, a lot of young guys now. Of course, the industry has changed over the years. There's actors for everything anymore, so there's a lot of competition, and you continue. I mean, you've been doing this for quite some time. One of the first parts you had in film was Ocean's 11, if I remember correctly. Now, how excited were you to get that phone call?
It was actually Traffic.
Oh, Traffic first. Okay, another great movie though. Another great film.
And it came. Ocean's 11 came on a whim, but Traffic I auditioned for.
Nice.
And that was like my first big movie. And me and my parents, and I was still in Ohio at this time. And me and my parents had told everybody, I mean everybody, to go check out Traffic. And by this time, I had moved here to from Columbus to LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go back to GM.
Okay.
And GM had cut me a check for $10,000 telling me not to come back.
Wow.
And that money helped me with my move. So I like to say sometimes what we might think is a negative might be a positive to push you into what you should be doing in life.
Yeah.
And I remember like maybe 3 or 4 years after I got fired, everybody got fired because they closed the factory.
That's right.
So they just gave me a head start. But by the time I got here to LA, it was time for the I'm losing track. It was time for the premiere. I went to the premiere. I'm sitting there. I'm so excited. My character was called The Face. I was a drug dealer because I stopped Michael Douglas in his car because he was looking for his daughter in a bad neighborhood. And I'm sitting there, Mike, and I'm like, here we go. All those months of waiting. And he drove right past me. When I tell you, I was devastated that they cut my part out. I didn't know any better. You know, that was like I said, my first major role. And afterwards, I went to Steven Soderbergh, and I said, hey, man, why y'all cut my part out? Just like that, at the premiere.
Wow.
And so he's looking at me. He's looking around like, security, this dude is tripping. And he said, well, you know, we went over budget. We had to pay Michael up front. And he's like, I'm sorry, this is just how it is. And he thought I was hurt. I wasn't trying to be rude or intimidating.
Yeah.
I was just hurt.
Heartbroken.
And I was like, all right, you know. And I started to walk away. And he said, but hey, I'm working on a new movie. And this is when people used to write down their numbers. He said, I'm working on a new movie called Ocean's 11. He said, give my secretary a call and I have a part for you. And that's how I got into Ocean's 11.
Well, both are really cool stories and definitely a learning experience. All right.
Here we go at the premiere again. Seriously, this will blow your mind. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right, I know they better not cut my lines off this time. So it was the scene where Matt Damon and George Clooney, they came down the elevator shaft, slid down the elevator shaft, opened the door. They see the two guards. I play one of the guards.
Yeah.
They slide the gas pedal in and knock us out. This time the music is playing over my voice. I said, oh my God, he got me again. But I didn't say anything to him this time. I just kept in my mind, this is some bull crap. He got me 2 times. But I can honestly say Steven Soderbergh, he actually gave me my part from Traffic, the part that got cut out. So I have nothing but respect for him.
That's
Like I
awesome.
said, I was new to the business, and you know, you learn, and you move on, and that's what I
Absolutely.
did.
Well, I'm still kind of upset with Michael Douglas now, so I'm gonna have to hunt him down. But
Okay.
no, no, not at all. Now, the one thing I love hearing about your stories is I've known this about you forever. You've always been very motivated, and hearing about GM and how you got your start into acting. I mean, even at GM, you were motivated to move up. You've always been hardworking and motivated. Uh,
hmm
is this something I guess your parents instilled in you? I mean, were you just like, I want to be the best at everything? I do, and it's a
I was an athlete. I was an athlete before I thought about being an actor or anything. I was an athlete, and I was a dancer in a rap group.
hmm
So I'm 6'4", and my dance partner was 6'5", and we would win every dance contest in the Midwest. We would come to Kentucky and tear the place down, man.
Well, you've
We
seen
were
us dance
like,
here.
you know, Heavy D and the Boys, like MC Hammer dancers.
Oh
We were
man.
like that, and so we took it very serious, man, extremely serious, and that's how I was with basketball. And I think, you know, I always felt like I had that entertainment blood in me, that competitive blood in me. So I was not going to be the weak link on anything I done, even when it came to acting. Even though after that play that day, I was so excited. It was a little bitty theater. I was so excited for the actors and actresses. I went up there and I shook everybody's hand like they had just won an Oscar, and they was like, "You should come and audition." I was like, "All right." It was an audition. They said it's like an interview.
hmm
So getting into that, I just started practicing, and I was like, I am not going to, anybody going to laugh at me because they'd be like, you were sorry. Because I know I've said that about some people, and I'm like, nah.
Nah, nah.
So
All right.
that's where it came from.
Well, that's awesome. Again, it's very inspiring. My next question, I guess, would have to go back into everything with acting.
hmm
I want to hear some of the stories, some of your best and worst stories with your auditions, especially your first, because
Oh,
everybody
I
has
got a
some
good one.
stories.
I got a good one for a worse audition. So they wanted somebody to have a British accent. I'm horrible at accents, and I kept on practicing. I was watching like Elba
Oh, yeah.
videos. I just kept on watching all these guys with this British accents, and I went in there to the audition the next day thinking I'm doing something, and all of a sudden the casting director was like, "Stop, just stop, please." And I was like, "What?" He said, "What was that?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "That was horrible." He said, "Please just leave." So I'm about to leave. I got pissed because he dissed me like that, right?
Wow.
I said, "You know what? If it wasn't for that damn accent, I had a damn part," and I just left. But when I left out, I was laughing so hard at myself, and I couldn't wait to tell my friends how bad I was because they was like, "You sure you want to go in there?" Because I was practicing with a few of my friends before then, and I was like, "Nah, I'm going." But it was
It's a tough accent. I still practice it to this day. I mean, it's a tough accent.
man, any accent is tough for me.
Yeah.
I mean, even like with some shows for like say Disney or Nickelodeon, you know, you have to be, hey, I can't do it. I call it corny. I be trying to be as corny as I can possibly can without sounding fake.
hmm
But I just can't. I can't do it. I know what I can do, and I know what I can't do.
Exactly. You know
And
your
as
limits.
far as like drama is my my strong point. But I've actually been doing. My personality is funny.
hmm
My personality, my character in life is to make people laugh. And that's why I started creating my own shows as far as like traveling shows. I created a show called Conventioning because I want to use my personality. I want to be able to make people smile. I want people, I want to be able to ask questions. You know, I can run my mouth, I'm shy, but I can run my mouth when it's time to run my mouth. And that's why I created convention, because I never see any hosts that does, for travel shows that look like me.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's amazing. Now, you're speaking of traveling. One thing a lot of people don't know about you, and I did see a post about this recently. You love to cook. You're a bit of a culinary expert. So you're not just a nice guy, but I mean, you you can cook too. I mean, there are women right now just hearts are breaking that knowing you're married.
You know what? And the reason why I started learning how to cook, it was for those women.
That's a good call. See, smart guy, everybody.
Seriously, when I found out women like guys that know how to cook, I was trick daddy, man.
Well, I've got one for you because I was kind of the same way. My reasoning for learning how to cook was women. I mean, come on, we're guys. My wife right now, when I first met her, I had her over for dinner one time, and instead of cooking, I got a little lazy with it. I made it about presentation, but I purchased all the food at stores, and all pre-made. But I took like tomatoes and cut them up and made them into little flowers, and
right.
But everything else was like, I bought that stuff and just made it look good. And she was so impressed with me. I don't think she found out about that till after we were married. No, I take that back. She found the containers in the trash. That's right.
It worked.
It's
worked. A commercial that's out like that about the guy acting like he knows how to cook, and she found the containers in the trash cans.
Yeah, that was probably inspired by me 15 years ago or so.
But my very first play that I done was called Hues and Blues, The Lifestyles of Langston Hughes. And my character was the lover man. So it was kind of easy because back then, man, hey.
Oh man, yes.
I just had to memorize the lines, but I had to swag.
See, I don't have that anymore, but back in my younger days, I carried a little Chictionary. I had it all, and now I'm just now I'm old and nobody cares.
I'll be like, what time is it? It's 10 o'clock. Oh, I'm sleepy.
The good old days, And yes, it's the thought that counts. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. And by the way, if you guys have any questions, throw them up here in chat. I'll try to get to those as well because I'm sure he'd be thrilled to answer some of them. I'm still married to him. Yeah, you are, baby. Thank you. Feels like my mom's watching now. This is crazy.
Hey, mother.
But on the cooking thing, you're a big fan of shows like, Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, hey, I would quit everything to have his job. Everything.
An amazing job.
I mean, may he rest in peace.
Yes.
I'll take his job right now. Seriously. I mean, what job do you can just travel the world, eat up everything, drink up everything.
Yeah.
See the best of the best.
And you've got the personality for it because, I mean, you get to meet such wonderful people who are taking you around and showing you these culinary experiences. And, dude, you'd be the perfect person, a perfect candidate. They need to have a show. We need to make it happen.
Hey, man, because that's how it is with my show, Conventioning. I've shot a few episodes, and I just love to just be around people. And my favorite con that we went to was called the Abilities Con, the Abilities Expo. And it was catered to people with disabilities. The stuff that we take for granted, man, it touched me big time, man. I mean, from the toilets to the showers to the cars to the shoes. And this was at the LA Convention Center.
Okay, LA.
And that place was packed. The wheelchairs, everything you can think about. And one thing I learned is people with disabilities don't want to feel like they have disabilities. They just want to be able to live their life like they used to, or like for example, this one lady we had interviewed, she had just became blind. She had been able to see her entire life. She's like in her 40s, and she had put a program together about helping people get seeing eye dogs. And it's just like, man, what would we do? How would I feel if I've been able to see my whole life and all of a sudden one day I'm blind?
Yeah.
You start feeling sorry for yourself or feeling angry or whatever.
it puts things in perspective. Somebody can actually take a tragedy and turn it into something so positive and help others. That says a lot about a person, and that's inspiring as well. I love people like that and hearing stories like that, because I have no idea what I'd do. I probably would just sit there for at least a week crying and not knowing what to do.
Yeah, and God forbid, like I told my wife, like we was talking about it one time, and I said, if I ever get into a situation where I'm just brain dead or a human vegetable or something, just let me go. I don't want to be. I don't want to feel like you have to cater to me your entire life, all day, every day, because I would want her to live her life.
Exactly.
And I know, and I would say the same thing to my parents. Just let me go. Let me go fly on up to heaven and get my wings and get my legs and my mind and stuff, because that's what I think heaven is. When you get to heaven, everything goes back to how it was. It's peaceful and everybody's just happy. So
and
I would never want to.
And you do a cooking show up there.
Exactly. Like, God, what you mean?
Now, I will tell you, one of my personal favorites was always Bourdain was amazing as well. I loved watching his show. I was addicted. But Adam Zimmerman in Bizarre Foods. Andrew Zimmerman. Thank you.
Yeah.
And my wife and I would sit there watching that show, and it's like, okay, we're going to Mississippi to try some barbecue raccoon, and we did. They didn't have it that day. They said they did that special. We did. We drove down to Mississippi, and I was like, and went to Letha's Barbecue just because of that show. We get in there, it's like, I just want the raccoon, and they didn't have it.
We do that too, like with Guy Fieri. Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. We do that. We watch all those shows, man. All of them.
Well, that's why I gained so much weight under quarantine.
I love them. I love those shows, and I just like, I'm gonna have my own.
I can't wait.
Close. One time I was this close. Yeah.
What happened?
So we'll see.
Well, and I want to. So if it ever happens, please let me know. Just shoot me a message, and I promise you, I will be there for the first episode. I cannot wait, and I will be there the rest of the time. And I'll probably blame you for my weight gain.
Hey, and that's another thing with this doggone pandemic, man. See, but now it's like I cook sometimes, because my wife, she can she can cook, man. She can throw down. I got up to the heaviest I ever been in my life. I got up to like 270. And I was like, look, we got to do something. I just can't be eating all day. But it seemed like the refrigerator's just like, hey, Vince, these little Debbies are in here.
Well, I'm with you. I'm actually at my highest weight ever because of this. And I just found that out today. My wife and I were talking about it. And, friends of mine must be very kind, because I'm Samoan, and they're like, oh, it fits you right, though. And I'm like, man, it shouldn't. Oh. It shouldn't. I do have a question from chat, though. What is your favorite meal to make?
Anything seafood. My wife loves my crab cakes. Any kind of salmon, any kind of catfish. I'm a potato man. That's my weakness. I can make any kind of potatoes. I'm like Bubba Gump when it comes to potatoes. I know he is for shrimp. Mine is potatoes. So, but any kind of seafood, scallops, all of that.
Oh yeah, I'm with her. That's awesome. No, and seriously, I do want you to have a show like that, because my wife and I would sit here all day watching it. I mean, I would binge watch it if that's what I had to do too.
But you know what? I actually have a kind of a cooking show. It ain't kind of. It's one. It's called America's Cooks.
Yes.
It's streaming on the Win Network right now.
And thank you for putting that out there, because that was one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up, actually. Yeah. So the Win Network, definitely check that out. Vincent Ward on there, and you can blame him for your weight gain as well.
But the thing about it is, I interview people that's cooking.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the cooking myself. I'm interviewing people. And my wife was on there. We did the newlywed. We did a newlywed episode. We weren't married yet, so we did a newlywed episode. She cooked her pot roast. So peace out to the to Win Network.
That's
and one
awesome.
of my movies is on there called Mirror Mirror.
Okay, tell us about that.
Mirror Mirror, and a sitcom called The Waldens, all on the Win Network. But Mirror Mirror, I play a pastor with some serious issues. I'm just a cheater, and I'm a bishop at that. And mirror, and it's considered faith based, but you don't feel like it's faith based
Hmm.
because a lot of times people think of faith based is like, oh God, this, Jesus, this, and it's not like that. It's definitely it's definitely hits on some real issues
Yeah.
that people go through. If you're not grounded, I don't care who you are, you can get caught slipping, and that's what my character did. He got caught slipping a few times, so
You
you
have
got
a,
to see what happens to him.
and I can't wait. I will check that out. One of the others I'm actually curious of, and I believe it's in post production right now. But Stepdaddy.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
That was
goodness.
my creation. That was
Yes,
my
you wrote
creation.
that, didn't you?
Well, it was my story, and I gave them the ideas of what I wanted. It's kind of like a remake of the old horror movies, The Stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, I always go into things where I don't see people who look like me, and I created Stepdaddy and another movie called Devereaux.
Mm-hmm.
And Devereaux is like a new age Candyman. And of course, Candyman's coming back this year,
Reboot.
but we're still not the same. We're still different.
Yeah.
Only thing that's the same is we're both black. And that's what I really and truly based it on, because you never see any black killers in horror movies except for Candyman.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
And so that's why I created Stepdaddy, which, is about this guy who gets in these relationships with all these different women, and he ends up killing them. So it's like a psychological thriller.
Well, and the poster portion of it was just ominous. The first time I saw it, I see the split face of you, and I was like, wow, that, to see Vincent Ward looking all just, I'm sorry, pissed off, that scared me
Right.
looking at it, I was like, okay, I have to know about this movie.
Did you see the video, the
I
little video?
did, yeah, I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah, man. So, for me, I'm just trying to create, man. I'm just trying to create and give people jobs, like some of my friends that I know are talented, but they're not getting any work. And this business is hard.
Yes.
And I tell anybody, if you're coming in to be an actor and an actress, and this is just a hobby, and you're not taking it serious, please go.
Yeah.
Because this is serious for a lot of us.
Yes.
So.
Well, and as I mentioned to you earlier, first off, you have to have a certain mentality to be in this business. I mean, because it's full of rejection, it's full of competition.
Mm-hmm.
So your drive, you have to have that in this business. If you don't, you're not going anywhere. And I mean, that's again, and I've brought this up with a lot of other people I've talked to online. How's the pandemic affected you as far as auditions, casting calls? I know a lot's done online, but how else has it affected you?
Besides not going to the sets, we're doing everything. Hell, look, I just got this today.
Nice, nice.
Just got that today. We've been auditioning. I think they're just getting everything together for when this thing is over or kind of over. I know today they finally released that LA can start back filming and stuff. That everything is be opening back up, but you still got to be smart, because I don't know about you, but every day I'm watching all these people die from this
Yes.
stuff. It's up to almost 114,000.
Yeah.
And I'm not going somewhere just to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to work to. No, I'm not going to do it. I'd rather be patient, and I want to feel comfortable.
Yes. And there
I know
a lot of people that don't take this seriously, and it's scary.
I know my commercial audition, my commercial agent, they emailed me today, and they was asking a bunch of questions about how I felt about social distancing, auditioning. They was like, just be truthful. We're not gonna hold it over your head, because people got to know, and that's just, I don't know. I think this whole whatever happened like Memorial Day weekend, and these protests, I think it's gonna catch up with us. I think it's gonna catch up with us. I mean, of course, the protest was something very important. I know.
Exactly.
I went, but I had my mask on, and a lot of people had masks on. I can honestly say that. But for the people who didn't, and people who was just hanging out Memorial Day weekend, or who just want to get tattoos and their hair done and nails done, God forbid, but you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah,
You're gonna pay for it.
and that was I know I don't want to get into this quite yet because I'm enjoying, but we are on the subject, and these people that were doing that, I mean, it. There's no other way. What's that?
Look at the people at Ozark. It's like,
yes.
What the hell?
And it just amazes me that people. It's nothing more than ignorance, and I apologize, but it is. It's just ignorance, and the fact that you could be spreading something that we know nothing about still. And that's the issue. It's not the fact that you are a healthy individual. It's the fact that you could take that and spread it to 50 other individuals, and that cycle continues and continues. It's just,
people argue with some of these stores because they don't want to wear a mask. It reminds me of the signs that used to be in all the stores. No shoes, no shirts,
no mask.
Service.
Yeah.
Now, if they want to put no mask, then they have the right to.
They have the right to
go somewhere else.
Exactly. And I mean, I read a story here recently in Michigan where somebody was shot because of it, and because they were kicked out of the security guard of the store. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's just a scary world right now.
Yeah.
And we will definitely. Sad. It's very sad. It's very sad, and we're going to get into more discussions on sad issues right now here shortly. I'm already seeing the questions pop up regarding The Walking Dead. I wasn't planning on getting into that quite yet, but you did. You played Oscar on The Walking Dead, and I tell you what, you made an impression. The first question here, and this one comes from chat, was how was working on Walking Dead, and who was your favorite actor or actress?
Well, I always say I don't put one project above another one. As an actor, you're just happy to be working. As far as The Walking Dead, I didn't even know what it was. I had no clue. Then when I found out I got a part, because I auditioned, video audition. Mm-hmm. When I found out I got a part, I was like, well, what is it? And he's like, it's about some zombies and these people trying to survive. And the first thing I said was, who watching that?
Apparently.
Come to find out everybody was watching. And I didn't know anything about the comic book, but all I knew was I was just gonna go in and try to do the best I could. And I remember I did just one interview, and they changed everything around that I said, and I was pissed. And it was some people over in Europe, and I'm just like, I didn't say that. They tried to make it seem like I was like poo-pooing on the show, and why would I do that? But my favorite was definitely Andrew Lincoln. 100%. Andrew reminds me of Snoop when it comes to, keeping your team together, keeping everybody happy.
So Rick Grimes is Rick Grimes is basically Rick Grimes in real life too, then, aside from the accent. Now, you have a funny story about that.
Oh yeah. That accent. I should have used his accent. We had went out to dinner. I had a glass of wine, and I took one sip, and I'm sitting next to him. And all of a sudden, he's speaking in this British accent, and I look at my wine, I look at him, I look back at my wine, I look back at him, and I said, hey, man, why are you talking like that? What's up with the accent? Now, we've been working together for a month and a half at this time. And he was like, you didn't know I was British? I'm like, what? I had no clue the man was British, for the simple fact he was always Rick.
Yeah.
He always spoke with that Southern twang. And I think I gained more respect for him that day to know that he can turn it on and off like that.
Just like that.
And Lou Temple, me and Lou have become really good friends since then.
Well, you and Lou Temple actually have other projects together.
He was in Stepdaddy.
Exactly.
I keep wanting to call him Tomas.
Oh man.
Both of them was in Stepdaddy.
Yeah.
Nick Cage, Nicholas.
Oh.
Not Nick Cage. I say Nick Cage, not Nick Cage. But Nick, yeah, he was in Stepdaddy also.
Let's see here. Now, for any other questions on Walking Dead, please bring them up because I'm sure there are a ton of them, but I have to personally ask something. This one's for me all the way. Your episode of Psych. You played Rocco, and I went back and watched that again just last night. Psych is one of my personal favorites, and I can tell you this. This is a true story. I can remember, and this is after you and I had met back in 2013. I can remember watching the episode for the first time and jumping off the couch, being like, that's Vincent Ward. My wife and I are just like, oh my God. And it was just a cool thing to see you on there. And it was like, oh, this is so cool. But one of my personal favorite shows. And so what was it like working with Dule Hill and James Roday on that show?
Well, first of all, when I got the call about it, my manager at that time was like, well, they want you on Psych. I was like, all right, well, where's the sides for the audition? And it's like, no, they want to give you a straight offer. And I was like, me?
Come on, son.
I had never got an offer on like a big show.
Yeah.
And I had so much respect, and I was so humbled by it. And once I got there, I mean, even though I was only there for like 2 days, they just made me feel so welcome. And I mean, they were just so nice, and I don't know, just for somebody to say that they want you without an offer, that's big, man.
It is, yes.
It really makes you feel like, all right, they respect what you it's respect your career, and it all came from The Walking Dead. It was like Rocco was really Oscar. That he just got out of prison. Now he's on house arrest.
Well, for those who
Rocco was a little, sneaky, but Oscar definitely wasn't.
No,
Oscar was more of a family man that made a bad choice in life. And I say it all the time. Just because a person is in prison or in jail, it doesn't make them a bad person. They just made a bad choice in life.
Exactly.
And I think that's how he was.
No, and that's a good way to look at that character, because I bet the impression a lot of people got, it certainly was for me, you really felt sympathetic towards his character, and you did an amazing job with him. I especially love that scene, and it is on your dramatic reel, where you're holding Rick's revolver, and then of course you do what you do and you hand it over, and I'm just like, oh my God, it's like I get chills every time I see that scene. It just really is a great scene.
Lou Temple taught me how to do the gun flip.
Did he?
And I was so nervous. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to drop this man's gun and they're going to kick me off the show the same day. But I did it.
Yes,
every
you did.
time.
You looked like a natural too.
Yeah, my family called it the crazy eyes scene, because I'm like,
oh man, but I bet they're proud as they can be, man. I really.
and I've heard I was probably the only person that ever held his gun besides him.
I'll have to ask an expert like my wife, because she'll know. Yeah, she loves that show. So next up, you were on there for quite a few episodes, but unfortunately, and spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the show by now, that's your fault. Right. Unfortunately, your character was killed off. How was that, and how was your reaction once you found that out?
I was disappointed. I was extremely disappointed. Anybody would be disappointed once I really and truly found out what the show was about. I've been there for a while. And I thought I was going to stay around a little longer, to be honest with you. But, they when you sign your contract, they tell you about how many episodes you're going to be on.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like once I started hanging with the group more, that I could be that the big black guy.
Every group needs one, right? I mean, come on.
That can lay the hammer down.
Oh, in chat, I was disappointed too from chat. Oh yeah, of course, we all were.
I appreciate chat, but I thought I was going to be around a little longer.
Now, you do have a funny story, I'm sure you'll go with this, but on your last scene, there was a mishap, and can you tell us about that and what had happened?
Yes. So I have a pack on that's supposed to explode once I got hit.
Mm-hmm.
And once I lift my left hand, that's when, we knew I was going to take that loss. And I was like, damn, I don't want to lift my hand. So when I went to do it, the pack didn't go off. Now I'm standing up on this bus, and there's all these people out there watching. This had to be about 30 people out there. And when it didn't go off, I said, "It's a sign. I'm not supposed to die." And I act like I was jumping over the fence, and everybody just laughed. So it was, that broke the tension a little bit.
Oh, I bet everybody had a great laugh on that one. Now, it couldn't have been easy filming down there, though, that whole time you were down there, because I know Georgia, and I've been down to Sonoya, Georgia, and it's hot, it's humid, it's muggy. I mean, there's a reason the Army does a lot of their training out that way. I mean, it's pretty terrible.
It's hot as hell.
Yeah.
It's hot, man. But the thing about it is, when you're outside, of course, it's hot. But when you're inside, you're in the air condition. But they try to, they wanted to look scary inside the prison. So yes, the air is on, but it's all this black stuff in there, to make it look creepy or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're choking to death. So you either be in the air conditioning, choke to death, or you be outside and burn up. I take the air conditioning.
Oh, absolutely. Every time. I appreciate you sharing that story with us, because that was one that did make me laugh when I first heard about that. So,
but man, they did an awesome job. Every day, you would go around a different corner, and you just like knock on stuff, like, oh, this is really fake. They made it look so real, though. They did an awesome job.
That's amazing, yeah. And the show's still going, so I mean, obviously they're doing a lot right, because people are still watching it. And let's see here. There's another a movie actually I wanted to ask you about here before we get into other things. Where is this here? Kelsey Grammer. You played a part with him, and I'm trying to remember the title here off the top of my head. Men, thank you. Now that one, and it makes a great segue to current events, but tell us a little bit about that one.
I just found out some stuff yesterday about that one. Woo! Charming the hearts of men. I love Kelsey Grammer.
Yes.
Once again, another ultimate professional. Great guy, very nice. But the movie was so unorganized.
Really?
Very unorganized.
Wow.
And I was getting a weird feeling from the director and the producer. And now I know why, because I just got somebody sent me an article about the director. And she refuses to take the Confederate flag out of her restaurant.
Oh, goodness. Wow.
That's what they're known for. They had, I guess, it's like OK Cafe or something like that. And they're known for having, all these different restaurants. And that's how they make their money. And that's how they made the money for Charming the Hearts of Men. But when somebody sent me that article, it's like, didn't you work with this lady? I was like, oh my God. She represents that flag.
See, oh, no, and I appreciate even just letting us know that much, because we're seeing a big change now with how people perceive the flag, which is long overdue. Mm-hmm. And this is a debate I've had recently with quite a few people, especially right now with even NASCAR. I mean, obviously, voices are starting to get heard. So anybody that's disappointed in the riots, it's working. And perhaps we should have listened, decades ago, hundreds of years ago, when people did try to peacefully protest.
Hell, you could have listened 4 years ago with Colin Kaepernick when he was trying to
take a knee. And what did they do? They complained and made it sound like it was the worst thing in the world. If I remember correctly, we even had a leader, I use that term loosely, saying he's a son of a bitch, whereas, these white supremacists were very fine people. So when you have that kind of encouragement, even emboldenment of racism, I mean, you got our own president basically saying, no, these guys are wrong. And they're not doing anything. They took a knee. I mean, it's the most peaceful method or tactic,
About it is, Mike, look who told him to take a knee.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it was like, what was he? I forgot, not a Marines.
No, he was Special Forces, Army Special Forces.
Special Forces.
Yeah.
He said it'll look better for you to take a knee than to sit on the bench.
Yeah.
Because this is how we pay respect to our fallen soldiers. This wasn't nothing against the flag. It
No.
wasn't anything against the armed forces. It was
No.
nothing about that. But they made it out of that, and people are, to this very day will still say the same thing. He disrespected the flag. He did this. No, he was bringing awareness to what's going on in this world, right?
What's still happening, but we're protesting again, and rightfully so. The Confederate flag, one of the reasons I brought it up the other day is, of course, we're seeing that go down in a lot of places, as well as other Confederate monuments, which I'm all for. But of course, you hear the arguments. It's part of our culture or heritage. It's whatever, it destroys history, which for that one, it always bothered me. I thought it was the lamest excuse you could give. As like George Washington came here during the Revolutionary War, tore down King George III statue because we're not England.
Right.
It's not tearing down history. We're still aware of who won the Revolutionary War. Germany doesn't fly their Nazi flags anymore. It's just a ridiculous point. And then with the heritage call, I read something, and this isn't my take. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. It's a guy who does stream named Oreoside who wrote this, and I thought it was just very clever. But he pointed out that the Confederacy, Obama at his time in office was actually nearly twice as long as the Confederacy lifespan. So there is no heritage there, really. I mean, you're looking at 5 years. Now, you got the march.
And that's why I did a video yesterday, day before yesterday. We always talk about people when they do something negative, but you got to lift people up when they do something positive. And that's why I had to say something to NASCAR, like much respect to NASCAR and the drivers and Bubba Wallace. And I can even go back to Brad Daugherty. I remember Brad Daugherty saying he was getting into NASCAR, and he's like 7'3". I'm like, well, you ain't going to be driving the car. But he was behind the scenes. And, Brad Daugherty, he's one of those, he's a black guy that's country.
Mm-hmm.
He got that hill, I don't want to say hillbilly talk, but he has that real southern twang.
You got that draw, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember a few months ago when the show on Netflix, the documentary Uppity came out, and I just watched it one night, and it was about the first black man that drove NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
And they hated him, not because he couldn't drive, but they hated him because he was black and could drive. And then the title of the documentary was called Uppity. And I remember, like in some of the old movies, Mississippi Burning and stuff like that, they would be like, "You one of those uppities."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, that's a perfect title for that.
Wow. Now, we were talking about your previous film with Kelsey Grammer and the Confederate flag. That's what kind of brought us into all this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fictional story, but it does really take a lot of the story from actual events that happened, I believe, in 1964, which was a time of racial tension, of course. And that brings me with Confederate monuments again. I mean, a lot of these were placed during times of racial tension. I mean, they were meant to be symbols of white supremacy and degrading towards black people, period. I mean, that was what they were put up in the early 1900s during Jim Crow segregation, again through in the 50s and 60s when everyone was fighting for civil rights. It really was. It was meant to be a spit in the face. And so I'm all for the whole tearing them down. I mean, I really am.
And that's why they have it up today. You have three things. You got the American flag, you got the USA flag. You have the Confederate flag, and you have the Trump poster. And all of those three, they try to tie those three together. But for me, it's really the Confederate flag and the Trump poster. And to me, that's the whole spit in the face.
Yeah.
And just like now, he wants to do Juneteenth
Yes.
on the worst day of black people ever.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
It's like, what? How is this even possible? You want to do a rally on that day when so many black people got killed for no reason but to being black. The Black Wall Street, it was powerful black people with businesses.
Yeah.
And it was a bunch of jealous people, and they killed them.
Law enforcement was called in simply to perform acts of violence against black.
Rally on that day in that city? What's the odds of that? But yet you want to put a little disclaimer for your people so they won't sue you
For
if
COVID-19.
they catch this pandemic crap.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you got he doesn't care about you guys.
No.
He doesn't. He only cares about your vote.
Yep.
That's it.
Yes. Well, and I think he's proven time and time again it's about him. It's about profit for him and his family. And with him choosing that date, if it was the first time he had done something that stupid or ignorant, I could, maybe it's coincidence, but it's not. And that's the sad part. We've got 4 years of somebody who has pandered to white supremacists. The KKK, their recent release, one of their newspapers came out and they officially endorsed Trump for election. So, you start looking at it, it really says a lot about where our country is right now, and especially with people making excuses against, and the protesting and the rioting. My favorite quote by Martin Luther King Jr. is, "Riot is the language of the unheard." I am tired of hearing people try to debate against it. I mean, you're trying to find a reason why why someone shouldn't be heard. They've spent hundreds of years under oppression and discrimination. They need to be heard.
Right. And you know what? The best thing for me about this whole riot thing is this marching. It's all types of people out there.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank God it's not just black people out there, especially with the whole looting thing, because we get blamed for everything. I love the videos where you see people standing up together, fighting together, showing love together.
Yes.
Being united. That's what makes America great.
Yes.
Not making America hate each other. I was just like sometimes I feel like I have a lot of white friends, and when I post stuff, I feel like sometimes they don't know how to respond to, what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, I'm still Vincent. I'm still the same guy. It's just I'm speaking the truth.
Yes.
And I remember, I got a story for you. I remember filming a movie in Georgia. Okay. Now, a lot of times once you get done filming, you and your cast, you really don't hang out too much. This particular cast, we still hang out. Okay. This day was my first day on set. And the executive producer, she had her kids on set. And I'd never forget the little boy. He had to be about 7 or 8. Soon as he saw me, he was like, "You're going to jail. The police are coming to get you." I'm like, I hadn't even been there 5 minutes. I'm looking at this little dude, and some of the cast members looking like, "What? Why are you saying that to him?" "Oh, he knows why. They're coming to take you to jail." I'm like, oh boy, let me stay away from this little dude. I'm gonna tell him a thing or two.
Yeah.
And then one of my cast members saw that he was playing like with this Rubik's Cube, and it's like it might not have been a Rubik's Cube, but it was some kind of toy like that. And it had Rush Limbaugh is the greatest on there.
Wow.
I said, wow, that's what's wrong. This little boy is looking at this black man thinking, whatever he was thinking, but he was taught that because, after a while, I saw the executive producer's truck. She had that Confederate flag on the license plate. Okay. Probably like a couple weeks later, saw the little boy again. Now we're in this trailer, like a camper, and we're all just sitting there, and he came and smacked me upside my head. I was like, oh my God, I'm about to go to jail. Punching a little kid.
Oh man.
But he was taught these type of things.
Yeah.
He was taught. But the crazy thing about it though, brother, his sister was older. She was like maybe 15, 16. And you can tell she was one of them little hot mamas who was going to end up dating a black boy. Because she, like, every time she saw like a black boy around, she always tried to get his attention and do little stuff. Yeah. And I was sitting there, I was like, that's what you get. That's gonna be y'all problem right there. Because y'all tried to teach your little kid, your little son hate, but you better be watching out for that girl, for your daughter, because she the one gonna come back pregnant by a black guy.
One of the most important things in science, one of the most important scientific revelations I've always just been a big fan of was race doesn't even exist within a population of humans. I mean, we are all just a single species. So I've never understood the entire concept. It shouldn't be a factor whatsoever in anything. And it's something people face all the time. Like you said, that instance, I mean, but we're seeing people on a larger scale, and we're seeing more and more videos where they're facing violence, possible death. Yeah. And for what? You know, nothing more than the color of their skin. And I love the fact that people are protesting. It's been inspiring, and I tell you what, it's brought a lot of arguments to my social media, but I welcome them because people need to hear the truth.
It's just like on my I have a Facebook like page, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had posted a video of Jim Carrey and Donald Trump, and Trump was on TV, and Jim Carrey sneaks in towards his TV, and he coughs. He coughs all in Trump's face. He blows his nose, and he wipes it on the TV. Do you know how many people that video has reached?
Oh, yeah.
10 million. 10 million. I was like, wait a minute. Can I benefit off of this? 10 million people arguing with each other. People they don't even know. They just on there. I mean, these people like boom, 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 going at it, hating each other. And it's like, for what? You don't even know each other.
Yeah.
And honestly, I had to get to a point in my life where I had to stop clapping back at people. Because, okay, I don't know you, but you might know me.
Yeah.
By what I mean by that, when I go to these conventions, I like to promote it. And if they crazy enough, they can come and try to do something to me at one of these conventions.
I never thought about that, yeah.
And I tell my friends that all the time. Hey, pick and choose your battle. You can't be just getting into it with people you don't know.
Well, the way I do it is I always at all costs try to avoid insults because nobody's going to listen to you once that happens anyway. And right. I just try to present the facts. And usually from that, I get the whole, you're a liberal, or, it's all deflection and nobody really wants to have a discussion with you. They just want to tell you, you suck. We don't like your views. Yeah.
Yeah, they just want to call you names, call you out your name. It's like, do you have anything else? But that's what they get from their president.
It is.
Guess what he does? You want to get mad because people laughing at Jim Carrey on his video, and you want to say he's washed up and call him names. But what about when Trump does that to people? Mm-hmm. And he does it all the time. Sleepy Joe Biden.
Exactly.
All this other stuff. Like, come on.
Well, then it's like they forgot what the 8 years of President Obama was like. I mean, when they're sitting here telling me you need to respect our president, I'm like, hold on. No, I don't. First off, respect is earned. He is not, exempt from my criticism. I mean, that's part of what our Constitution says. I'm allowed to speak up against our government if I find they're doing something wrong. That's my First Amendment right. So, unfortunately, they seem to conveniently forget that for people they don't agree with, and that's what's making all this change so hard, and that's why it's come down to the fact that we have to do these protests. I hope these things go on.
It's payback. It's payback for 8 years of having a black president, and then it was like, I'd be damned if we have a woman president. We don't care if she's white or not. They probably hate a white woman being the president over a black man being the president even more. But that's why I tell people now, you got to get out and vote. It can't be no excuses on the best of two evils and all that other bull crap. I've been deleting people who I don't even say anything to them. I just delete them because we don't have the same mindset. You don't care about my life and my parents' life and my grandkids' life. You don't care about your own life because if we have another 4 years with this guy, it's gonna be a war, man.
Yeah, it's not gonna be the same country.
You got to vote to change these laws. You got to vote for the Senate. You got to vote for these judges because we're still going to be screwed.
Mm-hmm. And that's the sad part is with all of the struggles since the civil rights movement, just Trump's rhetoric alone in these last 4 years is going to put us back decades of progress. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's rebuilding again, and it's heartbreaking to think of that. I can't believe in today's date and time it's still a debate at all that we
And it's not even about him being a Republican. It could be Bush. At least Bush knew something about politics.
Yeah.
This guy knows absolutely nothing. Only thing he knows is how to attack people and change whatever Obama sanctioned. Only thing he knows how to do is change that stuff. He doesn't know anything about politics. You know who? I don't know if you ever heard him talk about Trump, but you have to hear Howard Stern, because you know him and Howard Stern were really good friends.
They were close, yeah.
And Howard Stern, he said he does not like anybody that's poor. He hates all his people that voted for him because he feels like they're nothing to him.
Mm-hmm.
But these people don't see it. He doesn't care anything about you. He only cares about your vote.
Yes. And what kills me is he's been successful at one thing, I think, and one thing alone, and that's delegitimizing everything that this country stands for. He's been able to delegitimize the word of experts, you know, when it comes to scientists, military leaders, doctors. I mean, everybody is choosing to believe his word over people that have been respected in their fields for decades. We've listened to him up until this point.
Yeah. And he said one thing that I really and truly believe. When he said, I can shoot somebody in the middle of Times Square and get away with it. I believe he could, because these people always make an excuse for him.
Yes.
You know, oh, it's a hoax. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Why? These are experts. These are doctors. These are scientists who've been talking about this stuff and practicing this stuff for years. And this guy comes and tell you not to wear a mask. And Pence, I don't care what nobody say, Pence had the virus. When he disappeared for a while, I'm like, where's this dude at? Where is he?
Well, I certainly didn't drink any bleach after Trump talked about it. It didn't even cross my mind.
And to say something that foolish, it's like, why would you listen to him?
Mm-hmm. And people still defended him.
To him over Dr. Fauci?
Yeah.
No way. No way.
So it is. It's very upsetting, and it seems like you can't wake up every day without hearing something just obviously stupid. And I keep waking up one day. It's like, look, just one day, I don't want him to tweet something dumb, and it breaks my heart, but he does.
And you know, he built his wall. He built the wall around the White House.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And Mexico still didn't pay for it.
Right. He's talking about he wasn't in a bunker. He just went down there to check on things. Like, how does this dude lie? And the thing that kills me the most is Fox News. How do you guys keep taking up for him when you know he's lying?
Yeah.
Let Obama go golfing as much as he does. You know, let one of Obama's daughters go on a trip that cost us $77,000. Come on, to kill some innocent animals.
Animals, yeah. And the irony is, Trump spent a lot of those years during the Obama administration criticizing, oh, he golfs too much, he's not working. And I'm like, you've already, in the same amount of time in office, almost doubled the golf time.
Probably triple.
It's just triple. Well, then our deficit. I mean, he complained about the deficit, and Obama took it down to, I want to say, somewhere around $500 or $600 billion. And then here it is. It's $1.1 trillion now. So he's failed in just about every aspect of his presidency, and yet people are still supporting him.
And I don't get it. I don't get it.
I think
they know once he's out, they're going to get him some kind of way, and he's going to go to jail. I think everything is going to start coming out, even with the whole Epstein thing. Epstein just didn't kill himself. I don't care what nobody say. Epstein knew some secrets about some people, and he was going to spill the beans.
Well, from what they're saying, from what I hear from the other side, is they believe the same thing, that he did, or he was murdered, but it's Hillary Clinton who was involved in that. So, yeah. But it's true. That's the part I hear.
That's going to get me out of jail.
And let's see. I would love AOC step up to be president of your country in the next election. You know, I like her. I really do. And I hear conservatives all the time call her an idiot. And then when I ask why, they really AOC. I can never actually say her name, honestly. And she's very outspoken. She is a lot younger. And I never do get her name right, so I'm going to pull it up. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, come as for vice president.
Oh, is that? Yeah, that's probably what he meant there. He said be but vice president. Either way, she's very intelligent, and the issues that she's bringing to light are those issues that would actually help, the middle class. So I have a lot of respect for her.
Honestly, man, I just want it to be fair for everybody.
It should be.
How can the rich state continue to be richer? It's like, what about everybody else? They ain't hurting for anything.
Mm-mm.
I want somebody in there that can be fair to everybody.
To everyone.
And I don't want. It's just like they were like, Obama didn't do nothing for black people. Guess what? If Obama only focused on black people, I wouldn't want him in there either. Because it's not a black world. It's about everybody. Getting along and being able to survive in this world. And now, that's not what we have.
No. And we can't even say just Americans, because as far as the president of the United States, it's a global position. I mean, it really is. And
we're being laughed at, man.
Yeah.
We're being laughed at.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that.
Me neither.
Oh my goodness.
I actually have people inbox me and tell me they feel sorry for the United States of America.
Mm-hmm. I have it all the time.
We're not even powerful anymore.
Now, before we end this, and I do want to end it on somewhat of a brighter note, but I tell you what, Vincent, man, I would love to have you back on and do just this. I swear we could do this for hours, and I would absolutely love it. Because I've got a lot to say, and I know you do too. But one of the questions I would love to ask before we head out of here today is, if they were to make a movie about you, who would you want playing you?
Me?
I can't think of a better person,
No, I can't think of nobody else, because ain't nobody else want me to play them. But me, I would want to play me, because nobody can show the feelings that I can show and know why I'm feeling that way better than me.
Like the crazy ass.
I wake up every day and I just thank God for allowing me to see another day, a new day, healthy. Because this pandemic can take any of us down, brother. Any of us down. And I'll be genuinely happy for people. I like to see people succeed and follow their dreams and, help other people. I love that, man, because I just be like, hey, I'm just sitting here patiently. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. Yeah. And I know my time is coming real soon where I'll be able to be in a position to be able to help other people. I want to leave a legacy for I have 13 grandkids.
And
I want to leave a legacy for them. I want to put my parents in a position that they don't have to, want for anything. I'm all about peace and love, man, and just being good to each other.
You're an amazing person. You really are. And you've been an incredible guest. I really, really hope to have you on here again soon. Especially after you have your own cooking show. And if you stop through Kentucky, I will definitely hit you up and we'll go someplace together.
I'll be in Louisville.
When are you gonna be back?
October 20th something.
Okay.
Depending, yes.
But I will put that down here now. So October. I'll keep an eye on it.
I'll send you the information.
Outstanding. Now, I'll do this on stream. You don't have to tell me your number, of course, but is your number still the same?
Yep.
Okay. I'll just text you then, too, when it gets closer to that day. But no, I really want to thank you for being on here. You are, whether you know it or not, actually helping people already by your activism, by your voice, and just inspiring people to do better and, bring out the best in themselves. So I do appreciate that.
Appreciate you too, brother. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. And to the chat, I really do appreciate you guys coming by. If you scroll down on the Twitch channel, you will see the links to his IMDb, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Definitely go hit him up. You will love to see his upcoming projects and everything he has to talk about every day. It's very interesting. Much love to everybody, and thank you again for joining KyTalk Live.
All right, brother.